Right, coaching, because I know you are a really successful coach. Are you coaching only natural people, or are you coaching enhanced PED user guys as well?
90-10. 10% assisted guys, 90% natural guys. It was predominantly natural guys for a long time. I'll often lose a lot of clients because I'm not able to give gear use knowledge, really, to be honest. They just assume that you are, and they assume that when you maybe come on board for coaching that you'll then be like, okay, what's the secret? But I'm just like, oh, honestly, mate, I don't have a fucking clue. I mean, I have basic knowledge. I have basic knowledge on gear use and what people, because I've obviously got training partners and stuff who obviously use stuff, but not anything I would feel comfortable. I mean, obviously the thing that works so well is diet and training. If you do that with someone who's enhanced, they will get a much better result than a natural. It's going to work twice as well, just because simply they've got stuff to be able to, allow them to retain more muscle, recover faster. So I'm kind of on that side. I'm like, look, if we're going to work well for a natural, it's going to work twice as well for you. So great. And I've got a lot of these, people in shape who are assisted, for shows like inside out conditions, So there's a lot of basic fundamentals I think that people should take from a naturals diet to do that, diet a little bit longer. Probably not as high protein use, things like that. But yeah, it's about 90% naturals now, I would say.
It's crazy because here's the same. Yeah, well, I would say 100% because I don't take on non-naturals, although I am not a natural athlete, but I will never give advice about something I'm not qualified for. Maybe sure. I'm a bit more educated, on PEDs than the average Joe, but I still don't have a certification about that.
Sure.
So therefore, I just cannot give advice about that stuff. And also the other thing, we both live in the UK, and there's insurance as a PT, as a coach.
Sure.
There's some insurance, liability issues, and I'm just not giving away advice about drugs. That's just the case. I'm just not doing that. So I always say that you can be not natural and, coach by me, but don't talk about the PED. I need to know if you are on PEDs, but I don't care how much. I don't care what it is. Just tell me if you are enhanced or not so I can adjust, the food, the diet, the workout. But what you actually take, I don't care. I'm not going to give even my opinion, I'm not going to give.
Sure.
So when someone asks you about PEDs, do you actually give advice about that stuff, or you just
No, not all. I usually would say, sometimes I would look at things and being like, do you think maybe that's a little bit too much? That was sometimes my answer of kind of like, you probably get a lot more out of a lot less. That would be my main sort of, advice really. But I do have people around me and stuff who would usually advise them on things like that if I really needed to. But also, most of the time, it's like, look, I'm not the best person to this. If you're happy to do your own stuff, then fine. Happy to obviously coach you on the rest of the stuff, but I just can't give you any kind of like, if I was to get into a bit of a pickle with someone with what they were using, they had some sort of side effect from it or something like that, and I wouldn't know where to start. So that's the problem with it. So I'd always just say, like, you run your own gear and I'll do your diet and training, and we'll just, as long as I know if it's going to make you harder or watery or what it's going to be, that's all I really need to know. So
just one more question back to the training.
Sure.
You believe in must do exercises, that there's an exercise you have to do in order to gain muscle or whatever. Do you think that there are exercises you actually have to do?
I think if you asked me this 10 years ago, I'd say yes. Now, no.
Same.
Only because I was before I won my pro card, I was very big on deadlifting until I got injured. I was very big on squatting, always barbell squatted for years. This is the first year I've not barbell squatted because simply I've had some knee issues and I wasn't able to train through lockdown. I was only able to do like 100 kilo squats or whatever. And my legs suffered for it massively because I get a bad hip, bad knees. I have something called housemaid's knee, where the tissue on the knee on the outside gets inflamed, and it's not fluid. The actual tissue itself is inflamed, so you couldn't get to like a 90-degree bend. So I was having to hat squat and leg press, and now that's been the best thing that's been done for my leg development, just probably because I'm able to actually use proper load through it, and it's not a biomechanic issue, I guess, with like, a barbell. So it used to be, for me, to answer the question, bench, squat, deadlift, and bent over row was kind of my main things, and probably a overhead barbell press for shoulder press or dumbbells. Now I would say that you still have to have those, basic fundamentals in your program, but a variation of them. Like, yeah. I don't think you can get a decent back without doing decent, heavy barbell rows. You probably give it a T-bar row, but like a variation. So I think the main compounds have to be your bread and butter for sure. But I wouldn't say that I'm attached to any or married to any movements these days by any means.
That's what I always say, that you have to do certain movements, but you don't have to do certain exercises. Exercises are not the same as movements.
Sure.
It's just not.
Yeah, that's it.
Have you ever tried? Yep.
Go on.
Have you ever tried the shockwave therapy for your knees?
Yes.
Did it work?
I've had it done over my shoulders. To be honest, I threw the kitchen sink at my shoulder injuries. I had cryotherapy, shockwave therapy, acupuncture, deep tissue. I mean, I spent thousands of pounds last year on treatment. I mean, I was going to deep tissue twice a week, acupuncture at least once a week. So I could say it all works, but I don't know which one of it works. It's just better. So
same here. And so I get dry needling as well. I do stretching every single day. All that.
Yep.
I actually have a partial tear in my supraspinatus rotator cuff. That's not fun. And you mentioned, getting injured during the deadlift. I have a herniated disc. So what's yours?
Yeah, so it started. I've never got it diagnosed, but I mean, something popped in my back doing deadlifts. I was extremely heavy at the time as well. I was about just under 18 stone. It's the heaviest I've ever been. So I think most of my issues were caused from being so heavy. It was, yeah. It's the heaviest I ever was. That was the year before I won my pro card, in 2013. So yeah, that was something went in my back when I was training one day, and it was never the same since. So I then just decided I was really shit at bent over rowing. Couldn't bent over row like 2 plates, and now I can bent over row comfortably with a decent load, and I just don't deadlift at all. So whether that's hindered my some of my hamstring and back development, I don't know, but it's given me longevity. It's probably extended my lifting career for probably another 10 years, because I was just getting injured every week trying to go back to doing the same exercise, because you had to deadlift kind of thing,
Right. So we covered your bulking diet. We covered your diet.
Sure.
We covered your workout. And what about with supplementation? So what supplements do you take as a natural? What supplements can you take as a natural?
Sure. So, I mean, I'm not really a big subs guy, but I mean, I do think there's some basic fundamentals you should have in your diet. I think vitamin D3 is always something that should be kind of really considered. I think there's kind of just an essential mineral that sodium should be very high in people's diets, natural bodybuilder, or any bodybuilder, to be honest, or any athlete. I've tried boron, which is a natural test booster. I'm not sure if you heard of that. D-aspartic acid as well. So usually we'll use those in off-season prep, whether they actually do much or not at all. But I mean, I've always had, I guess even if it was a placebo effect, if it was 1% for me, that was kind of something I would do. Intra-workout EAAs, and usually with cardio, and then a post-workout glucose and hydrolyzed or whey isolate. So that's about as kind of, and creatine maybe as well. Usually that would be in my pre-workout, so depending on what I'm using. So yeah, kind of. I'm a big caffeine guy as well. I drink a lot of coffee, so I guess you could call that as like a supplement. Maybe someone who doesn't drink a lot of coffee. I think there's some benefits there as well. Obviously not too much, but there's definitely some benefits. But that's about as wide as it gets spectrum-wise. So that's basically anything you can take under WADA. So WADA's sort of drug list, if you like, is basically anything like SARMs, pro-hormones, anabolic steroids of any kind is all a no-no. Diuretics are all a no-no. So anything that kind of works to a certain point is not available.
I was about to ask about SARMs as well, but now you just said that. What about fat burners? Do you take fat burners, test boosters, stuff like that?
So a good fat burner, Yohimba and HCl, that is not on the wider list, but it's actually difficult to get a lot of, like, you can't get it in the UK ready available.
Yes.
There's a couple of places to do it, which has always been very, very good. Like I usually would take that in the morning with caffeine, fasted, and then you usually have to get the best effects from that as well. You need to have about an hour and a half, 2 hour fast window. A lot of people will eat directly afterwards, and it's always effective if you do it that way.
Yeah, I do use that at the very end of my diet as well. There's a certain reason for that.
Yeah, I usually put it in about halfway through, and usually synephrine is not a bad combination to use with that as well. I use like Cineburn or something, like 30 milligrams, I think it is. That's about the only two that I think as fat burners that actually work. I mean, I think if you're going to use like a Grenade, the Inform Sport or something, which doesn't have the bitter orange peel and stuff like that, and you can, that they're not bad fat burners as far as like to give you a bit of caffeine and something like that, really. But I mean, I think a lot of the things I said, if you can get something that will get you to expend more calories because it gives you a bit of a lift, or maybe it suppresses your appetite as well. It's quite good.
Yeah. And also increase the NEAT level a little bit. Yeah,
100%. So things like that really work. As I said, the test boosters, like D-aspartic acid, boron. I think it's Tonga Ali or something. I've not ever tried it before, but it's supposed to be very good as a natural T booster. But that's about all. I mean, apart from I've tried. I can't remember the other name of the other one now. Oh, you've got like Bulgarian Tribulus, things like that. I've tried all those, but I mean, really, the only ones I've really found to be kind of like half decent was the boron and the D-aspartic acid together, basically. So for test boosters.
Funny enough, the DES is kind of a new thing, but you mentioned the boron, and I think the first time I ever read about that was like a magazine from the late 80s, I think, late 80s. Yeah. It's been around for like 40, 50 years, and it works.
Sometimes it's just like you might be like you hear it on a podcast and it makes it popular again. It might be on FUADs or something, and they're like, oh, okay, I've used this and this, and then everyone goes out and tries it or whatever. But same again, really, with all this stuff, it's like everyone's different. Everyone's natural test levels are different. But like things like just like a vitamin D3, like having a really good, I use like 10,000 IUs a day of that. So like what's actually you'll get in the UK is like an effective dose, a recommended dose in a pharmacy compared to actually what's an effective dose is very different. You'll get like 50 IU or something. You're like, no, you need about 8,000 to 4 to 8,000 or something to. Like I've just had blood work done, and my vitamin D3 was just in like the normal ranges, and that's from taking 10,000 IUs every day.